Not your average tabletop. Woohoo!
Welcome to Not Your Average Tabletop. I'm Zach.
And I'm Pepper.
And today we're going to give our first impressions on Maglev Metro.
A game we unboxed not too long ago.
Mm-hmm.
Just played it for the very first time, although I dabbled in the solo game a little last night. But yeah, so this is our first initial thoughts on this game.
Yeah, I guess, did you have any thoughts on the solo play, or did you not totally play it by the rules? Or
I did not play it by the rules at all, because specifically the stations, you're supposed to build a station there before you can go there, and I just went there.
Cheated a little bit.
But I just kind of wanted to get used to moving around on the board and see if I liked that. And I did enjoy it. It was a little bit of a race against pulling these Meeples out of the bag, and once they run out, you pull one every turn. Once they run out, the game's over. So it was
a little bit of a race.
Yes. And there's like 20 different brackets that you can score in. I got probably in the bottom 5.
Not bad.
Yeah.
It's room for improvement.
A little bit.
But yeah, what were your initial thoughts? Just, I guess, looking at the game, the little knowledge you may have had about it, were you thinking it was something you were going to like, or hoping, or...
Because you were excited about it, I was like, oh no, this is going to be a dry Euro. I don't know exactly what train games are, but I was afraid this was one of them. So yeah, I was dreading it a little bit.
Oh boy.
But it did end up being a lot easier to follow and a lot easier to play than I had expected.
Yeah, and actually, I didn't know as much of this as I probably should have.
This always happens.
It's pretty. It's actually. I just saw the board, the metal.
Oh yes, those are very
bus train type things, the meeples, and these discs that you put out onto the board. I saw all that production, and I don't know, it just caught my attention. It was something I really wanted to play, and it also, I think it had a 4 square on the dice tower, and all 4 of them liked it. And I know they all have like slightly different tastes, so I'm like, well, it should be, hopefully, at worst, a pretty solid game yet.
Yeah.
And I knew it was kind of, somewhat had to do with like route building and some pick up and deliver aspects, which are things that I like. So I thought it was a pretty good chance that I would like it. So yeah, I was really looking forward to it just because of that. I think it was one of the best productions I was looking forward to and this year. That so far, anyway.
Wow.
I think.
Yeah.
That's how I like it.
I didn't know anything about the production or gameplay of it, but when we unboxed it, which you can go watch the video right now.
There we go.
We did our first ever dual unboxing.
Yes, so we did.
Yeah, I was unboxing this, and it was just mind blowing. You got these very, very thick tiles, thickest tiles I've ever seen, and you've got these see-through tiles, these metal,
plastic,
acrylic or whatever it is.
Yeah.
This huge metal first player token, these little meeples, these trains, and I didn't know what to say. This was not at all what I was expecting.
Yeah, and speaking of this metal first player token, it's probably one of my. I didn't know it was in this game until we unboxed it, but it's quickly become one of my favorites. It's just a little bit different. It's kind of unique to the game itself, and yeah, I really like it.
Now, if this could just be a currency in a different game, maybe add money to this game and just have 100 of these.
Yes, but no. Then what did you think as we were playing it the first time? What do you think of the actual gameplay of it? Was there anything that really stuck out as good or really stuck out as bad?
When I did start to understand the game and kind of was like, okay, I can follow this. I know how this is. Like, you'll be trying to upgrade your different actions that you can take and make some better than others. And I was like, okay, I can understand that. I can follow it. I can certainly play it, but I was worried that could I play it well and how much analysis paralysis is there going to be. But yeah, I was very surprised that there's obviously analysis paralysis, and it can get thinky at times and trying to figure out how you want to move your your adjustments. But it went smoother than I thought, for sure.
Right.
I thought it'd be pretty hard to move around and build those, but I was surprised at how approachable it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I really, really love the adjustment of or I guess I don't know what you call it.
Being able to upgrade
Being
your
able to
different
upgrade them,
actions,
yeah.
and then also being able to
adjust it
them
and move them and
throughout the game.
maybe you want to move a lot early on, so you upgrade that. But then later on, it's like, okay, I don't really need to move that much anymore, but I want to build track or
or vice versa or something.
Yeah, and then you can just kind of make your movement less, so you can only move maybe one spot, but you're going to be building a ton or picking up a lot of people.
Right.
I found that really, really cool.
Yeah, I think that was probably, in my opinion, kind of what makes the game is that being able to. So the last action on here is adjust. So then that's you can adjust your people outside of the scoring ones. Forget what they called those, commuters, whatever, something like that. So yeah, you can move around your gold, silver, and copper ones to kind of mainly influence your actions on the board. I found that really, really satisfying how you could change that throughout the game as part of your strategy. And
because you can. That's something that's like, you can play the whole game one way, and you can just spend like a single turn or maybe 2 turns, and you can just have a completely separate, different set of actions.
Right. You can have something that you were really good at before, and then move everything out of that and be really good at something else. Within one turn. And there's some AP, but I think luckily you're never taking too many actions.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you. So in the game you always get 2 actions, but then there's a way to buy an additional up to 3 additional actions, but you have to dedicate 4 different robots or commuters into these spots, which is quite a bit.
Yeah.
Especially for the bottom ones.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I tried that. I tried to do that very early, and it didn't. There were a little hiccups here and there a little earlier on because I didn't have any of this stuff upgraded. But I think you probably don't want to go all in on this.
Right.
But I think it might be best to get at least one extra
bonus
action.
action. Yeah. But yeah, I think that with that being so limited, you can have a little AP, but at the same time, it's not like you have to choose what you want to do on 5 actions or something.
Yeah.
Most of the time, unless I'm sure you could try to fill it in.
And you can, you're going to be building your tracks out here, which also these are very cool. They stack right over each other, so multiple players can have their tracks on one spot and you can see everything. So that was an awesome detail.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
But you're going to be building your tracks out here, and you can still only add from each end. It's not like, where do I want to build tracks now? You only have 2 options every time.
Right. You have one single route. So you can't just cut off from in 2 different directions.
So that makes it a lot easier because again, it kind of limits where you can go, but it still doesn't feel like you're strangled or anything.
Yeah. But otherwise, I think there's a nice blend between also throughout the game building up how powerful your actions can be, but then also setting yourself up for actual points at the end of the game. Because I think you could potentially, this is a game where you could get carried away with making sure your actions are powerful.
Look what I'm doing! I'm moving 5 spots.
You may not get things to actually get more points at the end of the game.
True.
Yeah, this whole side here is kind of dedicated of your player board to scoring points. So if you're able to fill in any one of these columns of a certain color, you make every one of those that you have on your board of that color more valuable. Or if you're able to go across, one of the things that scores is your links.
These stations out here that you will be building out here. If you connect 2 of them with your colored tracks, then that would count as a link and will score you a point at the end of the game, or possibly an extra point for each of those rows that you fill.
Yep. And then also at the beginning of the game, you get 4 scoring type cards, and if you get to score 1 for sure, but then for every other one you want to score out of those cards, you have to fill in an additional row.
Yes.
So, I really like how that aspect of it, where you still are trying to make sure you kind of time it right to be getting
Yep.
those points at the end of the game to actually have a score,
Yeah.
versus continuing to get more copper and silver and gold pieces.
Yeah.
Kind of figuring out the right timing of, okay, now I've got to just focus on these, get
Yeah.
as many as I can to score additional points.
Yeah. Yeah, I was worried early on when I'm like, there's only like 5 more of these going back into the bag. What are we going to do? But, I mean, if you just filled them all up, it wouldn't be any fun. 'Cause
Right.
you just have everything.
Mhm.
So I think that they balance that very well.
Yeah, I feel the same way. But yeah, we took, well, the outcome of the game. Obviously, you were able to pull off the victory, 66 to 59, but we took 2 pretty different strategies.
Yeah.
You ended up scoring every one of your cards.
Yes.
So yeah, you filled out this
Yeah,
entire thing.
I had a card that gave me points for not filling in these.
Mhm.
So then I thought, okay, I'll just fill in these and score every one of my cards. And then I also got one that scored for purples, so that kind of got me this benefit in a way without actually going there.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, I filled in 2 of these columns plus a row here,
Yeah.
and that's where I got a majority of my points. And early on in the game, I kind of focused on building the different stations,
Yeah.
which allowed me. So whenever you build a station of that, whatever color you build, you get a different person of that specific color. So it kind of is an easier way to get quick people, because otherwise you have to pick them up and deliver them to their specific
Station.
station.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a nice way to be able to get those, or a quick way to get them as well. Because I focused on track and laying those down right away, and then ended up going just for these points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is there anything that you maybe have questions about and aren't so sure on for the game?
It's still hard to tell early on if there's going to be
Replayability?
replayability. I'm not 100% sure.
Because I feel like you're going to have to get access to each of these, or at least some of them each game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're probably going to have to be good in most of the actions, at least at one point during the game.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to be super replayable, but I mean, that doesn't really have to affect whether you want to play it more.
Right. Right.
If you can play the same game over and over, but if you're enjoying it, having fun, then it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and I think it gives, at least through this play, it gave my mind a good experience of kind of a puzzle to solve
yeah.
here.
Efficiency puzzle.
Right, yeah, an efficiency puzzle, which I really enjoyed in this particular game. So to me, it may be really replayable, or maybe not like it feel that different from game to game, but still replayable.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could see how this could maybe be not. I mean, one play in, I don't know. We'll have to see. You know, it can definitely change, but there's a chance that it may not be for everyone, because it may not be, one that. But I think it's still one that I would suggest playing at least once. I think it's
I would say.
a solid enough game that even if you are looking typically for games that feel very different from game to game, you can do multiple strategies.
Yeah.
Then maybe this one wouldn't be it, but I would still say to try it at least once.
Yeah. We'll have to play with the drafting variant for the scoring cards, and I didn't actually see it in the rule book, but from the review from the Dice Tower, I think it sounded like that you have all of the cards to choose from.
Oh, that would make it interesting. Because that's why I did not go for this. I forgot to mention, my scoring cards weren't great, or they didn't feel great.
Mine were definitely more powerful.
Yeah, because we compared them at the end of the game, and Jesse even said he probably wouldn't have went at least for all 4 with that set, with my set of cards.
Yeah.
But yeah, otherwise, what do you give it as an initial rating?
Initial rating on how much does this get me hooked? I'd give it an 8. I really, really enjoyed the play and the efficiency puzzle, like we said. And I don't know, it's got some it factor, I think, with this great production and just the final map that you build and how it looks. It's just so cool and satisfying for my mind.
Yeah, and I also was going to say I'd give it an 8 as well as an initial rating. So yeah, I feel very similar thoughts to you. You kind of thought this wouldn't be a game that I would like, just based on...
I thought it was a little abstract game, feeling, which I know you're not the biggest fan of. But there was still this whole
This
aspect
puzzle is what brings
that
it
I
together.
thought, okay, you might like this then.
Yeah, I definitely really enjoyed the whole game. I really liked the puzzle. It hit the spot for sure, and it wasn't overly complex. It was, I think it's, once you play it, it's simple enough to, your actions aren't anything that you're like, oh, how does that work again? I never felt that. But yeah, and also we played on the harder side, but there is another side you can play off of, and I believe you can have more tracks come out of the starting spot.
Oh yes.
So that could make it a little easier
you can
too.
Branch off a little more.
But yeah, it'd be interesting to see kind of how that one plays too.
Yeah.
I think that would be a different feel if you can have more branches out of that initial starting spot.
Yeah, for sure.
That would change it up quite a bit, for sure. And then possibly maybe my cards would be better in that one. I don't know. So yeah, but otherwise, the other last thing, the gold and copper meeples look pretty similar. I mean, you can definitely tell apart if you're looking really closely, but if you have the board in the middle of the table, I don't know that you're always going to be able to tell which ones are which.
They're right next to each other, you can maybe do it, but if they're separate, there's not another one for reference, and you could definitely have a hard time telling those apart.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah. Otherwise, it's a very solid game. I would highly recommend trying it at least once, for sure.
Looking forward to playing it some more.
Yeah, I'm definitely...
Although I am worried, I hope none of these acrylic tiles get stuck in these spots or these huge, gigantic cardboard tiles.
That's true.
Because if that gets in there, I don't think you're ever getting it out.
Yeah, you have to rip the board apart. So, don't even put it that close.
It's so tempting.
Wow. That doesn't surprise me. That tempts me to do that.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to playing this one some more, for sure.
Yeah, I was kind of disappointed that we didn't just go right into round 2 right off the bat. It was one of those games that I just wanted to play right away.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you've got any comments on Maglev Metro, if you've played it quite a bit, if you think it's pretty replayable and it feels different from game to game, let us know. Otherwise, if you have any other questions on it, we'd be happy to answer them. So, we'll see you next time, and don't forget to
keep on nibbling.